Isis would like to know, the Gospel of Judas states that Judas had turned you over to the authorities due to your instructions. Is this true? And was there an orchestrated plan to fake your crucifixion? I think we might have just answered that one.
Yes.
Okay. And then Nicole also wanted to know so funny. This does frighten me. This conversation frightens me. It does. I mean, to me, it's going against a lot. And wasn't it true too that it wasn't just the Romans that you scared? It was also the rabbis. It was also the Jewish faith. So you had it coming from both sides.
Yes, I did not only have to fear the Romans, I also had to fear my own people. Mm-hmm. Because I was teaching everything that would provoke and attract the people finding liberation and them losing control over the people.
That's why you were needed at that time. So the Bible, how much of the story in the New Testament, or maybe even the Old Testament, but how much of the story do you believe is accurate, or I guess you would actually know?
He's saying, first of all, you have to keep in mind that the Bible was created by many and long after my so-called passing. And also keep in mind that at the time the Bible was written, Judaism was the common consciousness. And so in the Jewish culture, there was a prophecy of a Messiah that would lead our people to safety and bring the religion into the future. So the disciples knew that in order to get me accepted as the next Messiah in a world who was greatly opposing my teachings, they had to operate within the teachings of Judaism. And so the stories that were created around my life's journey were mostly a fabrication in the hope of my acceptance as a Messiah. For example, it was said in Judaism that a Messiah was going to be recognized by 3 kings when a star was bright in the night sky. Thus, they created that story of the manger and the 3 wise men, and so on. He's laughing because he's saying, if you think about it, it seems so unreal. And so that was the story that was created, and they were going to be present at my birth. They were going to find me.
Your poor mother.
Unfortunately, that never happened. But you can see, my mother gave birth like any other woman in a home surrounded by many other women helping her.
Not cows.
No cows. No animals in sight. He's laughing, I'm sorry. He kind of has a giggly laugh. It's kind of like, it's kind of funny.
Like you.
Yeah, it's very similar to mine. But you have to, that's it, he says, you have to understand they needed to tell that story. They needed to create these stories in such a way for them to have me accepted as a true Messiah. And also, my teachings were altered and changed over time by individuals who wanted to gain power and control. And the true foundation of my teachings were lost in the misinterpretation of my disciples. and their personal biases and their human filters. So the true teachings of unconditional love and freedom, choice and equality with God, the true information and wisdom of God being an all-loving, all-accepting, non-judgmental entity, and so on. All of that was replaced with teachings that would and could control the masses and give others ultimate power in the name of God. So to finish this question, the Bible stories are interpretations of people who were not spiritually developed enough to understand or even grasp what I was really trying to pass on. They were changed for personal gain and to create acceptance and preserved for future generations, not for their factual accuracy, but they were preserved for their faith-generating component. And this view of the Bible may have worked in a pre-scientific world. However, it is no longer working for the people today. Now, what is great about the Bible, and the plus point, is that behind some of the stories, there are timeless life lessons of love and spiritual connection. Unfortunately, the depth and spiritual power of my teachings were lost, but they are slowly returning because people are awakening from the tyrants they call society. And they are choosing to recognize their own divine power to create their own reality in life. And thus they're starting to choose love over fear. So the Bible is a great fairy tale. It has some great, beautiful stories. It might have maybe 5% fact, but I wouldn't give it any more than that.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, I never understood why I had to go to another man in order to go to God. That's where I always got tripped up. And Yogananda once said, I love this, someone was asking, and he was talking about hell, and he very calmly and kindly said, your son that you're having an issue with, why don't you go grab the rope? I'll stoke I can't say the word.
The fire.
And we'll tie him up and we'll throw him in. And the man was just horrified. He said, it's the same thing. I said, my father would never, our God would never do that. Just like you would never do that. It's a kind and compassionate, not a fear. Anyway. Mm-hmm. Okay. Katie would like to know, I love this. And I was wondering this too. What did you come to teach? What was your mission, your life's purpose?
I was and still am teaching universal truth. And I want to start by bringing some clarity to the Jesus Christ character that you have all created as me in some way or form into your belief system. Christ is not a person. Christ consciousness is a collective consciousness. And I was just the first person that channeled that Christ consciousness down to planet Earth. Oh God, he's mentioning me. Oh, okay, he's like, don't get red, just say it.
You're getting red.
I'm sorry. Okay. Just like Emanuelle does now. And let it be known that you did not receive the name Emanuelle by mere coincidence. As just like the meaning of the name, you are a messenger of God's source and a bringer of love and light to all who is willing to listen. So to all who are listening right now, please hear my words. Christ consciousness is and never can be institutionalized, but it is making a massive resurgence at this time. Christ consciousness teaches about free will or choice and unconditional love. I was here to teach that we are all connected to God, that we are all one and can connect to this benevolent source of energy and consciousness in all different ways. I repeated many times to my students that my teachings were not the only way to reach and establish connection and universal truth. That enlightenment can come to us in many different ways. Forcing people to believe that my teachings were and are the only way to reach and connect with God's source would only be coming from a need to feed the ego. And the feeding of one's ego is always wasted energy, as God does not reside in the ego. But God only exists and consists of unity and oneness. That is why you call all that is the universe. God has no expectations. He leaves no restrictions or demands. Therefore, there is no wrath or judgment, as everything is an expression of God. And free will is part of that expression. Why would God's source create free will and then condemn you for using it? It doesn't. God's source only speaks and seeks expansion through your creative creation of life. That is all it desires. It desires to experience itself through your creative abilities. That is what I was here to teach. Sorry, I had to puff a little bit there.
No, it was beautiful. I because I've always felt like it was like it was a. Anyway, we'll save that for after. That's beautiful. Okay, Julie wanted to know, how many lives have you had? Was Jesus your first or your only life? Personality Jesus. Kind of.
I have and am experiencing many incarnations. I know you want a number, so I will try and put a number on it, although this is constantly changing. At this moment, I have over 1,500 lives.
Wait, going on right now? Ow, 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 ow. Like currently?
Yes.
Wow.
As to your second question, like I said to Carrie, there is no first or last. There just is. Linear thinking, linear timelines is only a human concept. It is not where the world or where the universe resides.
It's an agreed upon construct. Okay, so here is a tiny bit of a different way of asking that same question. Chuck would like to know, do you have spiritual energies currently incarnated here? Yes, we know that. Or off-world?
I do. I will give you one who is at this moment also very influential in spreading Christ consciousness. I am a female spiritual teacher in India. My name is Monasri.
I'm sorry, Monasri?
Monasri. He's showing me Monasri. Monasri. He says, I am still very young. I am 15 years old. But he's saying the people who surround me in that lifetime have already seen and experienced the wisdom and the universal power that comes from within.
So will Mary be joining you in that lifetime or in this lifetime?
Not in this lifetime. This is a lifetime where I am guided to finding unity and completion within myself.
That's huge. It's just all these different roles that we play. You know, it's just the cosmic play. And we just get to come back and we get the role. We always get the role.
It's about putting, and this is just from me, it's about choosing different characters in order for us to experience our totalness. I don't know if you know that's a right word. I don't even know if that's that word, but the totality of our true source, of our higher self. We have to experience all these different characters, and we choose them according to what we would like to experience. And from those experiences, we get to find self-wisdom.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay. Rosalind wants to know, do you currently have any living descendants? And if so, where are they currently located?
He's laughing.
I'm not really a descendant, though.
No, you are an incarnation. He says, yes, I do. They are still located in Europe. However, their exact location and names cannot be revealed for their own protection.
Yep. Okay. I think a lot of us know where that is. Okay. Jonathan would like to know, what is, I love the way he says this. So what's the deal with the 10 Commandments? Were they written by you?
I did not write them. It was decided upon by the same group of souls who created the Bible. They debated and rewrote the commandments over and over and over until they felt like they had created the right format in order to keep control over the actions of the people by infusing them with fear. And the fear came whether or not, if these commandments were not executed, or whether they were not followed. I don't know if that makes sense. Did I translate that correctly? He says, you missed a few words. I think what he was trying to say was that it was just used to condition what society should look like.
I believe that at one point religion was used as, like, now we have a government. Religion is a small piece, but very separate, especially here in the United States, where it seems like that's reversed, that it used to be those were the laws. And so it's sort of, it would be like me telling my children, oh, this is coming from your dad. You better listen. They're not my laws. They're your dad's laws. And so it's not the government's laws. These are God's laws. But
he's saying, yes, don't forget that in those times, it was the church, it was the spiritual teachers who decided who became the next king, who needed to be murdered and get rid of, who decided what the rules and regulations were. They had free will to execute people whenever their minds or their ego was hurt. So it was the religious institutions who controlled the world, not the governmental institutions.
right, right. So, but the Ten Commandments didn't, to me, feel, I mean, you should be nice. You shouldn't kill. You shouldn't commit adultery. I mean, there are certain things that seem pretty universal law.
Okay, Carrie, but there is no should, could, would in this world. There is free will. So, again, you are conditioning from a human perspective what is right and what is wrong. But not everyone is here to experience your right. And that what you experience as wrong might be their right.
That's wrong. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
He's saying you're looking at it from a duality, bad versus good. From
That's
God's
true.
perspective, there is no bad, there is no good. There just is. And so when we condemn people who do awful things, we think we're good people. But condemning anyone is not where we reside from a spiritual perspective. And understanding and finding acceptance that I do not approve of this. However, there has to be reason and intention behind this. There has to be a chosen path behind this action. Then we can love someone, because people who do cruel things means you're doing cruel things as well, because you are that person. Let me explain. If the devil was real, which he is not, if he was, I would not condemn him or judge him, but I would love him as my equal, because he is just an expression of another part of myself. You can choose to do right, you can choose to love, or you can choose to do harm. Either way, both directions, both angles is right by God.
I understand that now. I see what you're saying. That it really was. I do see how that really was meant as a control. Because, I mean, even trying to fathom what that would be like without those things, they're sort of mind-blowing.
He says not everyone is ready to accept that truth. And that is why many of my followers, many of my disciples, even when they were sitting with me, listening to my teachings, they were not fully comprehensive of the intense oneness that I was talking about. Because from a human perspective, we have to see the duality in order to experience ourselves in that duality.
Mm-hmm.
However, there is no duality and there is only oneness. So if you condemn another person, in reality, you are truly condemning yourself, because that other person is you.
But that feels like the macro, but living that in the micro, takes a lot. I mean, it is a very...
He's laughing. He's saying that is an evolution that will come in mankind, but is still very far from your timeline. So that is why it was so hard for others to fully comprehend my wisdom, because they just weren't ready for it. And they took the love, and they took the acceptance, and they took all the beautiful things that they resonated with, and they highlighted those. Mm-hmm. And we are here to love each other, but we need to love all, and right. Not just the ones that we believe deserve our love. It is the ones who we believe do not deserve our love who need the most love.
Anna would like to know, what are your thoughts about the human race and the future of humanity? What are your thoughts about Mama Earth?
Good question. He says, humanity seems from an outside, unconnected perspective, very lost and leaning towards the dark side, as you call it. Now, thinking of Star Wars, you know, the dark side.
The dark side. Come into the light.
He's laughing. But that couldn't be farther from the truth. He says, you see, with every awakening, a purification process needs to take place in order to process and purify the energies that blocks and even eliminates the expansive elevation of our own frequency. So that is what Earth and humanity is exercising at this moment. The purification and elevation process of the collective and personal energetic frequency by being confronted by all that hurts our evolution. So we then feel forced to make the necessary changes within, and in this way to become part of the changes outside of ourselves. So embrace the chaos, because it will lead you to peace.
Because you no longer resist. It's in the resistance that we vibrate apart.
When we resist, we are in a state of denying our own frequency. So release all resistance and find acceptance that God has a good plan and that there are no coincidences.
No coincidences. I want to ask you about timelines, but I'll do that after the show. It's been said that Christmas is meant to celebrate your birth, but were you actually born in December? We've answered that. This is by Michaela. If not, then what is the true meaning of Christmas? Ooh, yeah.
Christmas is not about me, but it's about celebrating Christ consciousness. It's a very valuable time for mankind because it shows that we all have the ability to do good and to show compassion and love to others. Therefore, infusing our energy and thoughts with hope and a sense of unity, which affects the collective in a very positive way. So Christmas is good, and it gives people hope and a chance to show to themselves just how good they can really be. Because knowing that you're a good person and acting upon that knowing are two different things.
It's very true. I love that version. I love what you just said. Holly would like to know, dun, 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 where is the Holy Grail?
He's giggling again. He's saying Indiana Jones grabbed it.
Give it back, Indiana.
He says, inside yourself. The Holy Grail is not a physical cup as told in Scripture. It is actually a metaphor for the eternal spiritual quest for truth and wisdom. The idea of a Holy Grail also teaches us that in order for us to find what has never been found before, we must search where no one else has ever looked.
Oh, I love that.
So if you wish to find the Holy Grail, you will first have to believe in the impossible before you can experience just how possible it really is. You will have to learn to see the unseen in order for it to become visible to you. Wow.
Okay, so TJ would like to know, where can we find your true teachings? I know what you're going to say.
Some of my true teachings are being kept from the public in the Vatican. Only people of high status and people who are willing to pay massive amounts of money will be granted access to some of those teachings, who present the smallest threat to the church's institutions and its members. Many of them were also destroyed along the way in order to hide the real truth from people.
This is Carrie. I mean, not a question. This is, well, it is a question, but it's for me. So there's a belief that when the Alexandria Library, which had a lot of these things, when it burned, that they actually did burn it, but that they took the really important things like your teachings and they put it in the Vatican. Is that, in fact,
that is correct? It is locked up in a vault. However, not all teachings were rescued.
What about the Nag Hammadi? You know, that they found, I believe it's Mary Magdalene, they found writings in a vessel in the 1950s in caves in Nag Hammadi. Is it the Nag Hammadi? And are those true teachings?
He's shaking his head no. He's saying they were replicas, but some things were altered.
Alice would like to know, how do you wish for people to perceive you? People debate all the time about who you were, what you looked like, and what kind of person you truly were. How do you wish to be perceived today?
I was just a spiritual man who shared with others the infinite possibilities of mankind. So I was here to show you that everything comes down to choice. You either choose love or fear. And the frequency of fear is a polarizing vibration. It is the exact opposite of love. Mm-hmm. To love is to attract something to yourself. To fear is to push something away. So the ultimate choice is always love. So I would like to be seen as a spiritual, normal man who chose love.
Julie would like to know, I never felt loved by my parents as a child, but when we sing the song Jesus Loves Me in Sunday school, not sing, I did feel loved. Question, will we all get to see you in the next life beyond this one? She really hoped so.
Kind of a cute question.
That is, it's a sweet question.
He says, I will be present for whoever requests my attendance and guidance before or after transitioning. He says, and please, Julie, know that you are loved by their spirits, even if during this incarnation you chose to experience the feeling of being unloved by them. They still love you.
Let that sink in. Yes, I've actually heard of people crossing who they Jesus is here. And before they cross, you come to get them.
He says, and I will come to you in the form or shape that you believe I am.
That gives me chills. Okay, so this next question. Okay, Katie would like to know, were you in a scene? If so, are these teachings still alive today? And if so, what group has kept this knowledge alive in the truest format? Is the 10% tithing something you taught to do, or is that designed by the church to fill its coffers? And last part of the question is the second coming of Christ where we come to fully know the light in our hearts?
I think he already answered that last one.
Yeah, he did.
I've never heard of the Essene, though, so let me see what he says.
Okay, and then I'll tell you about it.
Yeah, because I've never heard of that word. He says, not at all.
Really?
He says the Essenes were very different in their perspective towards God. For example, they practiced celibacy rigorously, which I did not support, despite the false claims in the Bible, as I knew that we were here to experience the wonder of physical love, connection, and touch. Also, they were fearful of germs, and so they were obsessed with cleansing themselves. So they wouldn't even go near the sick and the dying, which was not the case for me, as those were the ones who needed the most love and care from me.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, they were just really uptight with all their very strict rules and regulations. More don'ts than do's.
Yeah.
And I was all about freedom and choice, no rules or obligations. I loved all and loved the ones who wanted to hurt me even more, as they needed the most love. All the restrictions, the rules, and the judgment that were placed within my so-called words, something like that, were never mine to begin with, only those who wanted to use my name for their personal gain and their own empowerment. So the answer to that question would be no, because they would not resonate with what I would stand for.
They were. It was a group. It was they were very strict, and the belief was Jesus was in a scene, and Jesus, no meat, no wine, no. You know, all of these no-nos, and so I kind of thought he was. So that's really interesting.
Okay.
I'm glad to hear that. You know, because I've always had issues, and I've said this very often. I've always had issues with this this idea that we trade one set of no-nos for another set of no-nos, and it's like, okay, I'm becoming enlightened. I'm on my path. I can't eat meat. You know.
He's saying the truth is there are no-nos.
There are no no-nos.
Mm-mm.
One no.
If it resonates with you, if it feels good to you, go for it.
So Tracy would like to know, can you ask him, what did he mean when he said that he had the keys to heaven and nobody gets to the Father but through him? Or did he actually say that? I think we know the answer to that.
No, those were not my words. And the true sentence would have to be, the keys to heaven lay within each and one of us. Answers, love, and peace comes from within. So do not seek them without. To all who are listening to this interview, I want to speak these final words. Empower yourself by releasing yourself from the human bondage of fear and judgment. Embrace yourself with love and respect, as you are a divine source of universal wisdom, unlimited creative power, and unconditional love. And when you have realigned with your true self, with God's source, only then will you be able to heal and guide others by example and not by force. Respect yourself and respect others as you are one and the same. Love all who comes onto your path, and love those who are lost even more, as unconditional love will always lead them back to the light. And last but not least, God loves you. There is no punishment or judgment, only love and free will. So live free of worry and fear, and you will find the peace and abundance you all seek. And know that no one can hurt you unless you allow them to. So instead of judging others, seek for the lessons behind their pain. Seek for the journey that they were here to send you on. Because people who hurt you will help you to reach your inner strength, your inner power, and your immortality. That is my message to all, he says. I'm sorry, I have to add that.
Did you have to write?
Yeah, that was my personal note, because it seemed like, sorry, Jesus. He's laughing. He said,
No,
you are the most fun, bubbly light bringer that we have had in many, many years. He says, there are many. He says, but it is your fearlessness to speak truth from the heart in a way that you see fit, that creates openness and oneness within, and connectivity. Connection? What? Sorry. And creates connection between the souls that are listening to you and God's true self, because God is full of creativity, full of humor, and full of relaxation.
Chillaxin.
He's a chillaxin. That's funny. And so he says, I think it's funny sometimes how people, whenever they talk about God or they talk about me, they have to do it in a whisper way. They have to do it in a serious way. He's just thinking it's funny how hanging out with Jesus and being cool and all of that seems to like be a no-no. as you would say it, Carrie, he says.
No.
But really, I am cool, and I am, all about hanging out and having fun with you and teaching you the ways to your true self, because what Emanuelle embraces is her own goofiness and her own joyfulness and her own self. And that is what makes her channelings so beautiful. She's not restricted with what is to be expected of a medium. And that's what everybody should do. Be yourself, stay true to yourself, and know that you're a divine creation. He's kind of he's moving away anyway. I can feel him pull back. I think he said what he needed to say.